Hello guys, this is Saurabh and welcome to the first video on my channel. What I'll be doing is I'll be creating some series of videos on JavaScript concepts and basically my experiences with the nuances of JavaScript. And I think this series would be helpful to all the JavaScript developers who use the applications but are a bit confused about how JavaScript works behind the scenes. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking these small topics like the today's topic is higher order functions, and I'll take some about 4 examples in this through which we will go into the depth inside these concepts, right? I think let's dive into this topic first. So higher order functions, right? So what is it? So as a definition, as the official documentation says that the functions which accepts a function as an argument and or returns another function as a result. So whenever you see a function that is a bit complex, let's say it accepts a function or returns a function, so that function is called as a higher order function. Just take an example of this. This is a simple example. It is a function which accepts a function as a parameter, does some processing, and returns something, returns a result. So this is a pretty simple example of higher order function that you might come across in your programming life. So what I'll do is I'll just take a second example and we will try to uh, correlate with one of the famous map function of the array. So this is a function which returns another function, right? And basically this is also a higher order function, right? Though it does not accept a parameter, but it returns a function. And again, it might also accept a second function and do some processing and might also return another function. So this is how the higher order functions behave. So they are a bit complex as they look, but the concepts are pretty simple if we go deep into it. So I'll take an example of the our map function of the array. So we know that our map function takes a, let's say, transformer, okay, and this transformer runs on each element of our array, right? So let's say our array looks something like this, right? We run a map function on this. Let me remove the comments, okay? So our what our function does is uh, it takes an item, okay, another thing it takes is the index, okay, and the third parameter it takes is an array itself, right? Though we don't use these two arguments much, but as you see, the map function takes a callback function, right? A callback function, and its first argument is its value, right? Then its index, and then the array itself. So let's write the index and the array itself. So this is how, let's say I want to double all the elements in my original array. So what I will do is I'll just return uh, item into 2, right? Let me configure a default formatter. Okay. So I know that this is how, basically we all know that this is how a map function works. So how does the map function would actually look like inside? So basically let's try to write a polyfill for that, right? So let's see, what I will do is I'll just take a map variable, okay, and our map is a function, right? Which a map is a function which takes this function as an argument, right? So our map is a higher order function, right? Let's call this highlighted function as a transformer, right? Now, uh, now we know that since we'll be calling this map function with an array, right? So we can refer the array as this, right? This would hold the reference to our array. Now, what we'll do is we have to run this transformer function on each element of the array, right? So what I will do is let's take an index which starts from 0, goes till the array's length, right? And then we will run the transformer function, right? But we have to make sure that our transformer function can accept 3 arguments: item, index, and array, right? So we need to pass all of these into our transformer function. So what is our is the item, current item, that is array of index, and what is the, of course, its index, and the third argument is the array itself, right? And now we know that whatever this function results is the new element of our final array. So let's take our final array like this. Okay, it's an empty array right now. And what we'll do is we will push the output of the our transformer into this final array, right? I hope it works. Right. I think my formatter is not working. Okay. So basically this will call my transformer function each uh, how many times about the number of elements in my array. Like in this case, it will call this transformer function 4 times and will push my all the elements into the final array. And what my map function returns is the final array itself, right? So this is how a higher order function looks like that we use in our daily life, like this map function. Now to actually let this map function work with our array, we have to uh, add this to our prototype of the array, right? So what I will call it is, let's say, custom map is equal to map, or basically anyhow we can do this. So this is how a map function can be implemented. So this is one example of a second example of a higher order function. Now we'll try to go into, so basically this is how a map function can also be written, but this is a wrong implementation because it only accepts a item, right? We also have to track the index. So this is the correct implementation, I think, of the map function. So now I'll take a slightly complex example that we use, and I think all Redux users would get this. And I think a slight prerequisite is there that if we understand Redux, this example I think would be beneficial to them. So we already know that there is a connect function in Redux, right? And basically we wire our component with it, and so this is how we write our Redux containers, right? We pass a component, we pass this function, but we need to understand what this connect is and what it actually does, right? So I'm going to dive a bit deeper into this connect function, right? So as we know that a higher order function, we know that it can accept a function, it can return a function, or both. Okay. And similarly, there is a concept of higher order component. So this is a very similar concept which tells us that a function which takes a UI component, in this case a React component, and returns a new or an enriched component. So this is an kind of enrichment function. So what I will say here is, let's try to implement this whole thing that we write, this connect function, which would be a kind of mental model about how connect function works. Okay. So what we'll do is, we know that let's try to break this whole thing down. We know that this connect is a function, right? Which accepts two arguments. One is map state to props, another one is map dispatch to props. Okay. Now we know that this whole thing returns a function which accepts a component. So I'll try to break it down for you. So this is a function one, okay. And what is it? It is the result of the connect function, right? Just copy this whole thing. Okay, now I know that this function one accepts a component. Okay, right? So this is what I had written there in the single line, except, sorry, export default function 2. Wait a second. So this is a function 1. Okay, so this is the enriched component, right? Enriched component. So this is what we actually export in our Redux containers. So let's try to. So basically, what is this function one? This function one is a higher order component because it accepts a component, right? And what is my connect function? Connect function, we can call it as a higher order function because we see that it accepts two functions in its arguments: map state to props and map dispatch to props, right? So what I will do is, I'll try to, so basically I'll say that now we actually need, the viewers would actually need to uh, recall the concepts of Redux. So we know that our React component subscribes to a store, right? A React component subscribes to a store. What is a store? That's basically a Redux store. Okay. Now, so basically, it's basically a React component, and so basically, what whenever we render anything, it's actually this enriched component, right? Now, to actually understand this, what we'll do is we'll try to implement a mental model of how Connect works. So this is how Connect function can look like, right? Map state to props and map dispatch to props. So this is a function which accepts these two arguments, and what it does is it returns another function, right? See this function one, okay, which accepts a component. Now I know that it returns another function which accepts a component, basically a React component, okay. And now we know that this is actually a higher order component because it's accepting a component. So this function returns, we know that this has to return an enriched component. So what is it? It is a React component in short. So what we'll write here is we will write a React component over here. Sorry. So basically I don't have my imports ready, so it will cause some problems. Okay. So this is how what I'm doing is I'm returning a new component. But we know that this whole new component has to render an enriched version of my original component. So I will render this original component itself, okay, but it will be enriched with some functionalities. Now if we recall the concept of Redux, we know that our components, uh, we pass this map state to props and map dispatch to props, right? And whatever these functions results, right, that is available in this component as a prop, right? We are able to access this dot prop dot something, okay. So again, you need a bit of background in Redux if you're trying to understand this example, okay. So this component would actually accept everything that my map state to prop returns. So I know that my map state to props returns a object, right? And that object contains all the list of keys that can be accessible into my component as a prop. So this whole component, right? I'm trying to render this enriched component in this whole new component, right? So now I know that again this map dispatch to props would also be the same, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just calling this function, and whatever object I'm getting, I'm just spreading it as the props into my original component. So map dispatch to props, okay. So this is how it is, and now I know I might be missing something because I know that our React component itself re-renders when anything in the React in our Redux store changes. So we have to keep in mind, right, something. So we know that sorry. Yeah, it's okay. We know that every React component has this component did mount function, right? So we'll try to make use of this to subscribe to any updates that is happening to the Redux store, right? We know that. So let's say I have this Redux store available over here, right? I know that Redux store comes with the subscribe API, right? And whatever function we pass over here, right? Whenever the store updates, this function would be called. That is how the subscribe API of the store behaves. So again, if we don't understand the nuances of Redux, I'll say to just have a basic understanding of this whole store action reducers and then visit this fourth example. But I think most of the viewers use Redux, I think. I hope so. So now I know that this function would be called whenever something in the store changes. So what I can do over here is I know that in this function can be a re-rendering of this component, right? Whenever the store changes, what I will do is I'll just call something like this, right? This dot force update. We know that every component comes with this API, right? Okay. So okay, so this can be a thing, but again, this is not a very optimized version because whenever something unrelated to this component, so we know that this component should always render only when these values changes, right? Whenever whenever something actually changes in the Redux store, which component is listening to, right? Only those values change, then we have to re-render ourselves. So what we will do is to check actually whether this component should render or not, what we'll do is we'll have another function, right, an update caller, right. So we'll basically keep it binded so that we can use our general functions. So we know that this update caller would be called on some conditions, not always, so that our re-rendering happens in an optimized manner. So what I would do is I'll just try to store the old state of my component in this my map state to props, okay, and I will render actually my old state, okay. So this is a similar thing what I am doing over here. Sorry. Something is missing. Stored or subscribe. I have my update caller, map, state to props, fine. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is my old state, okay? And I know that, so I have to access my old state over here, right? So let's use something like this. Okay, I have taken my old state of the component over here. Now I know that I should call the actual update caller function only when my uh, old state and my new state varies. So let's have a new state over here, right? At that moment, I have to check whether my whether actually my what are the actual values of the store, right? Store dot get state. So this would give me my new state. Now I know that if my, so what I'll do is I'll just try to compare, which I'm not going to implement here. So basically that would be a shallow comparison. Okay, let me write. So I'll explain what shallow comparison is. Okay, so I'll just try to shallow compare my old state and my new state. Okay, now I know that if actually something is different between these two, I should actually force update my component, or this would just re-render my component, right? So I think this is so I'm not saying that this is the actual way how redux connect is implemented, but this is a kind of mental model. We can just think of something like this. So I'll also give you a gist link in my in the video's description, through which you can access this whole stable code at least. And so basically this is how it works. What it will do is, now let's just run this whole model in our mind. And what we'll do is, so we know that this connect function returns a function which accepts a component, the original component, and this function returns my new component, right? And what does it render? That renders my original component with some enrichment, right? So I know that whatever I pass over here would be available as the prop in my component. So this is fine. And whenever my component mounts, I know that I would be subscribing to the store, and whenever something in the store changes, I would call this update caller. I would check whether actually something in the store has changed by the shallow comparison, and basically there would be a not condition depending upon what you actually return from the shallow comparison. And if something is different, I would just force update it. Okay, so let's try to understand what is shallow comparison is. Again, I think I'm going a bit off topic, but I think this whole video would be divided into two parts, because in the second part I would be explaining you guys how the closures behind these higher order functions work. Like, since there can be nesting of the functions, we need to understand how the scope, how the closures work behind the scenes. So these are just some examples. Okay, so what shallow comparison does is, it would, so we know that these both are objects, right? Old state and new state. It would just visit each key of this of both of these objects, and just compare the value of the keys uh, in a very immediate fashion. It would not go and compare the, let's say a key has a value as an object, right? It would not go and a deep nesting and compare all of the values in the object. It would just take. So let me give you an example. So let's say my old state is this, okay, and my new state is this. So I know that, so what shallow comparison will do is, it will take a, it will compare the values of a 1 and 3. Okay, it is different, then it will return that my states are different. and let's say it's 3. Okay, it will check the value of a, same, then it will check the value of b, again it is same, then it will just say that these both states are shallow equal, right? Now let's say a c is an object, right? So here, how the comparison would work is that it will just do a strict. So basically, shallow comparison is a strict equality, and it would not go inside this object to check, right? It would just compare the reference of C in the both, and will decide the result as it is. So this is how shallow comparison works, but I think it needs a separate discussion. Fine. So this is how a connect function mental model would look like. So this is a short description of I think higher order functions in JavaScript, and I think you guys would be able to understand uh, better. But I think the second video would focus more on how behind the scenes the closures and all work in higher order functions. So thank you guys. I'll see if I can upload the second video sooner or later. So till then, goodbye. Take care. Okay.